What are you drawing pictures of? I want to know. I gotta wait until we're done.
This doesn't. Maybe
This doesn't include me.
When
Is
you
that hockey stuff?
When you do a podcast, do you go without notes?
No, I always have notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I just
have
It
notes.
just looks like you have little stuff here and little stuff there.
Nobody can read anything he's writing.
I was gonna say, and he's a teacher, right?
It's like in
Jeremy's
hieroglyphics.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I put it in different sections,
Okay.
then it's different parts, and I put
Yeah,
boxes
the
around
humming,
it.
the humming went away. Now I can't hear myself very well, but
Hold on 1 second.
all right.
Yeah.
You
I can hear you.
I was
hey.
watching a documentary on Eminem and how he writes raps, and I feel like
That's him.
that's how it
That's
works.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
People often compare me to Eminem.
columns.
I knew that's what the similarity was.
It was
I
where
just
was
couldn't
like,
put
who
it
is the
together.
person that reminds
That's-
me most of
Speaking
Jeremy?
of speaking of greatness,
Speaking of
Yeah.
greatness,
It wasn't-
Eminem, Jeremy Price.
It wasn't the band you played in high school?
no, that was
Oh.
not great.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
All right, perfect. For my headphones? Yeah, that's good. Perfect.
Cool.
You know, I said your son's name, and I'm going to stop talking until we start.
All right, we're good now.
Don't say go.
We've been good.
We've been go.
Yeah, we've been go.
All
I
right.
needed just a couple seconds here to.
You want to borrow my glasses? I have some cheaters. I bring them with me. There you go.
I don't know what I wrote. These are what I have.
Maybe
This
you
is
see,
what I wrote.
Maybe see it clearer with
Deal,
these.
deal nor tree. You know what that means?
No.
Neither do I.
All right.
Didn't you just write it?
I wrote it at lunch.
I think that's
And it's not
probably the
Deubler, it's
wrong person.
Doofle.
Really? Doofle, huh? I haven't had that one before.
You didn't even know your last name got changed.
I did not know, no. I mean, everybody struggles
you
with my
know.
last name. Nobody can ever spell it right, that's for sure.
Oh, I know
Yeah?
what this says.
Really?
Okay,
Yeah.
these are my philosophical questions.
Oh, Jesus.
They're not real deep.
I
They're
didn't,
not real
I didn't
heavy.
study, Jeremy.
They're not real heavy.
What? Since what?
Are they heavy?
I don't know. Why do you go heavy in other episodes? Why can't we go heavy in this
I
one?
was just trying to read his tattoo. That's
Scott's really smart. He
No,
would
I
give,
don't
he
know
would
about-
give great answers.
Okay,
don't
well,
know
let's see
about
then. I need to set a minimal standard then for the
that's-
philosophy we're going to go. Let's begin. Let's begin though by saying that this is the 55th podcast that we've ever done.
Congratulations.
I
Yeah.
think I missed the whole
Thanks.
40s.
Yeah.
I might
Yeah,
have,
so
I may
did
have
I.
to. There was a whole series there. 54. Oh, we've been
54.
corrected. 54.
What did
Sorry,
I say?
Brian.
He said 55.
Okay, 54th podcast. I'm getting closer.
Studio
You're getting more
54.
accurate every week.
You didn't even take your shoes off to count that high.
I'm going to say that I'm going to stick with 55. I'm going to go on a bold statement limb
Wow.
and say
It seems like a lot. I think this is
55.
probably the most consistent we've been with anything.
yes.
Yes.
Your whole life?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Maybe.
Us hanging out, that's
Maybe.
for sure.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
kind of brings you together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Otherwise, we'd just get so busy, and
Right.
at least we get this one time a week to hang out, so it's good.
Always Tuesdays?
Always Tuesdays.
Try. I mean,
Where's the tacos at, Jeremy? You promised me
Wait,
tacos.
wait, just
He
wait.
promised me tacos. That's why I'm
Really?
here.
They're
lot,
coming.
Lot
You're
of promises.
No, I'm just
lot
kidding.
of promises.
You're going to go eat paper plate tacos later, Proc?
I would like to if you have time. I would like to take you out for dinner
All right,
tonight.
that's
if
fine.
you, I'd love to take you. Have you been to Conitos?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Let's do
Paper
it.
plate
Yeah,
tacos.
it's so good.
All right.
Yeah,
Tacos
it's
are coming
amazing.
up.
Yeah.
I'd recommend the mole if you're interested.
What's
If-
mole?
chicken mole.
Mole,
Okay.
Mole is like a sauce, like a
It's almost
a
like
chocolatey.
it's almost chocolate
Really?
barbecue.
Yeah.
On
It's
tacos?
really good. It's no,
Oh.
you get it as like a chicken breast with the.
Okay.
It's more
and
like
so
a,
you dip it as a dipping
yeah.
sauce.
You cut it apart and put it on taco shells.
Nice.
Make your own tacos.
Okay.
But get that and then get regular tacos too. Make him pay.
Okay. If my card works.
He is a teacher. That's what he told me in the parking lot. So he wouldn't even tell me the address of this place.
Really?
Is there an address to this place?
He said on the corner of this and this, and I'm coming from a ways away, and I'm like, I hope I'm at the right corner of this and this.
Isn't
Yeah.
it great when everyone knows you're from out of town?
Yeah.
And you're given really
Yeah.
obscure,
Go to this pin.
secret
Yeah,
directions.
and it's kind of rough coming the way I came from off the interstate. And I was like, man, where in the hell is
Yeah.
Jeremy sending me right now?
Yeah, I have a
Right.
lot of interesting conversations with folks that have been here for the first time, good
bet.
and bad.
Right, right. Are we getting derailed already?
No, we're doing great.
Oh, good.
We're doing great.
You know, the last couple times I've come here, actually, with the last 2 trips I've made, knock on wood, were like the first 2 trips that I've ever had that I didn't like come near to losing my life in a traffic accident.
Yeah, you had a run there where every time you came in, you were hot.
I was just like, whoa, it's just white as a sheet, sweating bullets. Like, what the hell just happened?
I don't understand it, but at this corner over here, 27th and Teutonia,
Teutonia, yeah.
Flip cars.
Well, there's no
once a
turn. There's no
week at
turn
least.
signals. That's what. There's no turn lane. I mean, there's a turn lane, but it never turned green. Like you have to take a chance to pull out there, right? It's like, do I go now? Do I wait?
That's one thing you don't do around here is do not like leave instantly.
When the light turns
Do
green,
not
wait a
leave
beat or
instantly.
two.
Somebody's gonna
then
walk by.
Kind of look.
Yep.
Look
Yep.
around, just make sure, and then
Just like your mom
slowly
taught
ease
you.
out, or
Yeah.
let the cars from the other side come out first and block.
Man.
Yeah, do not leave first.
I like how you're telling me this now that I'm already here. You know, I
Stoplights
appreciate-
they're a suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming out. We have Scottie Deubler, our guest. Before we even begin interviewing or unpacking Scottie Deubler, man or mission,
Okay.
Scottie Deubler.
All right.
I would like to just quick. I haven't seen you guys in a little while. Just real quick, give me 3 sentences. Warren, where's your head at? You look great. You look like you lost a lot of weight.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I mean, you're sticking with a morning routine workout?
Yeah. Doing the gym, trying to eat right. You know, trying to feel better because I feel like shit.
He's drinking.
Really?
He's drinking light beer. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's the peach light beer.
Yeah, it's Gatorade of beers.
Where do you feel good at?
What do you mean?
You know, your pecs, your tri.
I don't feel good
triceratops.
currently at all.
Really?
Honestly, yeah, I'm so
Because
like
you look good. I mean, well, like a good sore.
no man, like I feel like I'm falling apart. My when you get tennis elbow, I got both sides.
Dang.
My shoulders are burnt. My knee, I twisted my knee the other day. I'm like, I hit 40. And it's
That's
like,
some weird kind of
yeah.
jacking off.
You hit
Yeah.
40. You hit 40, Scott.
Man.
Scott, where's your head at? You got 3 sentences.
This whole like Hamas Israel thing has got me. I'm a world events. I'm like a world
You are a
affairs
world
junkie.
events fair guy, yeah.
So it's like there's a part of me that's like, wow, this is gonna be food for thought for a really long time. And like I just love following the news, but it's just like so incredibly
Powerful?
sad. And yeah, it's a really powerful event. So I've been following that. So
You might have to give me the long or the short on that.
Well,
one,
let's
'cause
not do it here.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's-
worldly at all.
If you can, please.
yeah.
I'm
There's
locked
no
up
short,
in
There's
this.
no short version of
We're
this.
not going to get into the Hamas-Israeli struggle
We
today.
don't have time for that, right?
the next 3-hour podcast.
Oh yeah, I wasn't asking for it right now. I'm not ready for that.
No. We don't have to bring my global affairs affinity and opinions into this. I'm a news junkie, so
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you. And you also like big words.
Big words.
And Scott always confirms when I use a new word
Yeah.
if I'm using it properly.
Does he look it up and everything?
He doesn't look it up. I look it up, and I try to impress him.
That should
you've been doing really well with it.
It should be the other way around because you're the teacher.
A lot of shouldas in life. A lot of shouldas in life. I'm a teacher. Let me tell you this. I know my disability, and it's pronouncing words,
This is
And
true.
remembering
This is
last
true.
names or first names.
remembering names and pronouncing words. But
Yeah.
you know, I want to just bring it full circle. Maybe you've seen my mom. She is a bit. She's turned that into an art of mispronouncing names and words, using the wrong word in the wrong sentence. And my wife even said to me, "My vocabulary is so right or so wrong, yet so right." And so,
Perfect.
by taking the wrong word and putting it in a sentence, you can create a new adjective.
Yeah,
Does
that's
this
true.
make sense?
That makes a ton of sense.
I like it.
I
Right.
like your style.
As long as you're consistent with it and
Yeah.
and sell it till you're dead.
Yeah. Let me go a little deeper. When talking with my students, I serve mostly an African American population, and there's a slang or a language that goes with that, and they can describe things. My students can describe things that the language that I have can't. Like, you're doing too much. Do you know what I'm saying? This is a term of slang, doing too much. I know what that means. That describes a situation that I was unable to describe before. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about this later. Linguistics later.
I have
All
no
right.
idea what you're talking
All right.
about.
You never heard the term doing too much.
Never heard that either.
I mean, you're doing, actually doing
not
too
as
much?
not as a slang.
As a slang
expression.
term,
No.
you're doing
No.
too much.
Nope.
Okay.
No idea what that means.
Not as slang either. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
All right.
What does
well,
it mean?
You're too much. You're
You're over the top.
yeah. You're over the top. You're coming on too strong.
All right. Makes sense.
You're being too negative.
It's
You're-
not far off of what.
It really means.
Yeah.
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 It's a bad example.
Give me another one.
Oh man.
Yeah, come on.
I can't. All I
Did
know
you
is
not
what I
write
wrote
that
down,
down?
and this is
Yeah.
not written down. Linguistics is not written down today in my notes.
All right.
Whew, is it getting hot in here? There's a live studio audience.
Teachers on the hot plate.
Listen, let me say this, though. Let me say this. We're going to talk a little bit about teaching, and I appreciate you slowing down for this. I'm a really great teacher as far as maneuvering and getting my students involved and empowering them to be who they are. Academics, not so much.
It's not really a prerequisite for teaching, right? Like most of it's like gumption and
I would say
confidence
that the
and-
greatest thing about, or the best teachers are ones that can build relationships.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
and give students to believe in learning academics.
And believe in themselves too.
And believe in themselves.
Right?
That's right. And I think I'm really good at that.
Get them to engage and pay attention.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a special guest here, Scottie Deubler. Warren, do you have any idea who this guy is? Yeah. What do you know about this guy?
Oh, the voice of American Flat Track.
Oh, that's right. Good work. Good
All
work.
right.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
And the Off the Groove podcast.
There you go. I appreciate that
Yeah.
too.
Big
Yeah.
fan.
I've
Big
heard
fans.
that. I've listened to Off the Groove.
Nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Good
I like
job.
it. Yeah. Thanks.
I just listened to the last episode.
Yeah.
You were in England.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
Man, I love going over there.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Yeah. So I went over there last year for the first time, and they invited me to come back. So I went back and did it. And
Cool.
why they have somebody from Oklahoma go to England to announce a race, it blows me away.
That's
but,
the bit.
But I'm honored. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so cool, because some words mean different things over here than they do over there. And but last year when I first started talking, the race had already started, and I'm in a little bitty glass trailer. I felt like the Pope. I felt like everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, well, I'm wanting to point at the racetrack. The races are over there, but everybody's looking at me, and I was like, how weird is that? But it had to have been so weird to hear me,
Right.
announcing a flat track race over there.
Yeah.
And
What race did you announce? What were you?
it's the Greenfield short track. So
DTRA.
It's DTRA.
Oh, is that where was Hannah racing it?
Hannah?
Oh,
Hannah Banana.
Anna Banana.
Yes,
Anna
yes.
Serena.
And
yeah.
Anna Serena.
Yeah.
Anna
Yep.
Serena was there, and Chaston, and I can't remember his last name
Chaston
right
Brand.
now. Chaston Brand came over from South Carolina or
Something
North
like
Carolina,
that.
somewhere over
Yeah.
there, and they came over and raced the race. They were the only two Americans that were there this year. Last year, Jeffrey Carver was over there, but it's a short track that they replicated the Springfield short track out of, and they came over here
Wow.
and saw the equipment, and the dirt over there is awesome. Before they came over to Springfield, it was a hard packed like groove track. They come over here and they saw the equipment. They went over there and built something exactly like what they use at Springfield to turn up the dirt. And they come out, they have a water truck that opens up its arms like they use at the Springfield Mile. They make one lap around, they pull off, they drag it, and we go racing. So it's
cool.
It's
Does it create a groove like a clay track?
not right now. It stays. They keep it turned up just like we do at the Springfield short track. I'm sure if they
Like
went,
a speedway situation.
yeah, kind of like loamy, loose dirt, and that to me that's good racing. I mean, I'm a groove track racer, or I used to be a long, long time ago in the black and white days. But every rider over there loves the dirt. I mean, and it's incredible. And
cool.
I
Yeah,
just
you
want to go
have
there
to
and watch
be
it.
really technical to ride stuff like that if
Yes.
you want to go fast.
And grab a handful. You can't be scared to grab a handful in the middle of the corner and point and shoot.
You need to go to American Super Camp
exactly
and learn how to ride
Right.
that track. There.
It's kind of like riding a cushion track.
Yes, just like it. Just it's loose dirt instead of loose rocks.
Right.
Yeah, it's cool.
Cool.
They brought the dirt in from another place, or the
No,
dirt there naturally is great?
So Greenfield George, I can't remember George's last name, but his family owns a bunch of land. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's about 3 hours away from London, or 3 hours away from Oxford where I stayed. But he has a bunch of farming land, and he's a third generation farmer, and he likes motorcycles, so he built a short track right there. And this is the second one. The first one was just in the field right next door, and they built this one. And it's got lined with, like, half the track's lined with hay. The other half you can just go off the corner. They do TT races. They go off the racetrack and come back in there. It's like a big mini bike national and stuff. But it's just it's like if you build it, they will come. It's like the Field of Dreams, but it's
Yeah.
for flat track.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's getting more and more popular over there. There was 180 entries for the 2-day racing.
Great.
Which was awesome. I mean, I didn't know there was that many flat trackers over there, and it's incredible to me that how popular it is over there, and all the different bikes that were there. I would think it'd be all British bikes, but there was Bultacos, there was Osas, there was a lot of Rotaxes. And the first year I went over there last year, there's a Harley 883 Sportster over there, and I swear, as soon as I saw it, I said, I used to race that bike. And Jim Wagner out of Woodman Harley Davidson built like 8 of them, and I rode for him for about a season or two, and it's possible that I did ride that,
No way, that exact
particular motorcycle.
no
as well.
way.
Yeah, and I was
cool.
like, that just blows me
wild.
away. So
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Anyway, the trip to England was awesome.
Did they have like Did they have standard classes, or did they lump everybody together, or how'd they run it?
So on the first day, they have a pro class, and they mix the inters, which are like intermediates. So they kind of use a motocross style, they break down the classes. Then there's a beginner class. So that's more like motocross. But the inters and the pros race together because there's not a lot of pros over there. And you earn your points, or you get points through each of your races to get you into the main event. And sometimes it's a little bit different for the pros. And if the inters don't make it into the pro main event, they have their very own inters main event too, so they can get experience. And I like the way they do things. On the amateur day, there was a lot of, there's a mini bike, modified mini bike stock. There was, vintage. They threw all the vintage bikes. There's 41, but then they run 3 heat races for everybody, so you get a chance to start on the front row, a chance to start on the second row, and a chance to start on the third row. You don't get passing points, but how you finish is how you gain points. And so then at the end of the day, they have a mini bike 2-stroke class, they have a mini bike 4-stroke class, and then have a middle class. I can't remember what it's called, Euro, or it's like not the old vintage stuff, but not the modern vintage stuff. So that they have that a separate class. It's more like for a Rotax class or like a 600 Honda class. So they do have 3 main events, but again, you earn your points and you earn your way into the main event. So
there's lots of racing. It's not just a single heat and then you go.
Right, and that's what they're trying to do, get those riders more experience over there because
More seat time.
Yeah, a lot more seat time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Chances to get starts.
Smart.
And then the pros have a non-qualifiers race too. So if you don't make it into the main event, you run a non-qualifiers race. It doesn't mean anything, but it's one more race.
Yep.
It's more seat time. It's more time to have fun. And you have to think about it. They're still over there having fun. It's not a profession just yet.
Yeah.
So.
It's coming.
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
But
awesome.
the scene over there is really cool. I really liked it. After the races were over on Sunday night, they had a party. They had a DJ for a little while. They had live music. They had a mechanical bull. They had a horse trailer pulled up, or was there all weekend, but it was serving alcohol out of the horse trailer. It was the bar. They had fish and chips. And it's just a cool night after the racing was going on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you hang out with Cobalt Jeff.
Yep.
He's great.
Dude, he was so much
He is
fun.
a hoot.
I got to go to his shop. Did you know he was on MTV?
No.
Dude,
Is it real?
I mean, that
world?
first-
we're getting way sidetracked.
okay.
He was
That's
in
what we do.
he was
Let's
in
go.
like the third
Off the groove.
Yeah, we're way off the groove right now. But he was in the second season or the third season. Whenever they're in San Francisco, you remember Puck?
Yep.
So Puck was one of his friends.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he wants to admit that or not, but he gets on the show and he was kind of seeing one of the girls on the show. And he was this guy from England. And they went for a walk and he threw a rock. Well, at some point when they aired it, they kind of changed it. He was throwing a rock into a pond or the water or whatever. They changed it to us throwing at like an American eagle or a bald eagle or something like that. So instantly everybody hated him. He got hate mail. He had to change his phone number. And I was just like, what hasn't this guy done? But I did get to go to his shop the day I went up to see Oliver Brindley and had a great time to see him. And I've hung out with him before, but yeah, he's fun.
He's wild.
cool.
I'm trying to get him to build me an exhaust, but I can't find a way to get the parts over there.
So I'll show you later, but there's a picture. I took a picture of an F1 exhaust that was hanging on the wall, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
It just blew me away that somebody's that creative.
Uh-huh.
And everything has to have a purpose. And it's, anyways, I was very impressed.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a good
What a
dude.
good dude.
We rode through
Yeah.
India with him
Yep.
through the mountains.
Oh, on the Royal Enfield stuff, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, with the helmet
He's a-
stories.
He's a super
Yeah.
fun guy to have on a trip like that.
Yeah, I bet he's got a lot of stories.
I believe he actually spun the teeth off of off of a Royal Enfield. That was him, right?
I remember.
Yeah, he rode that bike so hard that the teeth
off the rear,
spun off
the rear sprocket.
Yeah, and he said he had been on a trip before and he had done it the last trip too.
So he was trying to do it then.
I got a couple questions to unpack about your trip to England.
All right.
Why this race? Like, why were you at this particular race?
So last year, me and Sammy Saavedra, doing it, dude. We booked a trip. We were in Wisconsin for the Elkhorn half mile, and we were going to go watch that. I was actually going to announce that race, and it got rained out. We ended up just hanging out at a hotel room or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go to England. And it's because of the Greenfield short track and because of how cool it looked. And I knew it was the season finale and you could get 2 days of racing at, one stop. And so him and I booked our flights. They were only like $480. It was cheap. Like
Dang.
it was cheaper than my flight last weekend
Wow.
where I went to a enduro cross. But so we booked the flights and the last minute he bailed out on me. Well, in the meantime, in between June and September, they kind of found out that I was coming over, and they asked me to announce it. I'm like, don't you have an announcer? He goes, they would rather hear you. And I'm like, what about your announcer? I don't want to take somebody's job. And he said, no, he wants to be part of it. And I'm like, all right.
Cool.
So so it's just on my bucket list, a racetrack that I wanted to go to. And so I did it. And then they invited me back this year, and they've already invited me back for next year. They gave me the keys to a van. I drive a van, and the weirdest thing is shifting with your left hand, driving on the wrong side of the road. And there's not really very many bridges. There's a lot of the roundabouts. I call them something else, but circle jerks is what I call them, because nobody knows what to do here. But over
you're
there,
going the opposite way around them things too.
yeah, and you pull up, and you're wanting to turn to the right, and you got to go to the left. And I'm like,
How many
so
people you cut off?
All of them. No, it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible, but the first time was last year I drove, and it was actually on the Queen's funeral day, so there wasn't very many people on the road, so that was good. The bummer side of that was nothing was open. Like the whole country seemed like it was shut down. I needed fuel. I didn't know that there was a diesel van. I picked up the green pump. That's unleaded over there, petrol or whatever. I'm like, oh crap! I'm just exactly. And luckily,
You needed a handler.
Luckily it didn't fit in the nozzle, or otherwise I would have filled it up with regular fuel. And I was like, so anyway.
I was with Polenta one time. He put diesel in Jeremy's bagger.
My motorcycle. That is true.
Oh man.
Yeah,
The Brazilian
But it's an honest mistake.
It's just different,
Yeah.
And it's stuff we take for granted, because I've been getting gas, since I was 14 or 15 years old, and all the pumps are the same here.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they're opposite over there.
Yeah.
So live and learn.
How much homework you have to do to go announce a race like that?
I really didn't. I knew some of the big names, the fast guys, and then I was learning on the fly.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know who all was going to be there. I really didn't, and I didn't study a whole lot, so I just was calling it as I saw it. And then
probably pretty rewarding or
Right.
like liberating to do it that way.
and it was cool. Yeah, I'm sure I butchered a few names. There was this one guy, I said his name probably 5 different ways, and none of them were right. And I think he might have been from Belgium or somewhere, but they said they call him Hawkeye, but to look at his name, it's like Huey, and I called it Huey and Howie, and it was, I don't even know how it's spelled, but I butchered that one a lot, but he loved every bit of it.
That's
He
awesome.
came and told me. He's like, nobody gets it right. I'm like, okay, good, so.
You
Anyway,
get to do the announcing for a speedway race too.
no, that was fun.
just briefly,
that was
right?
fun. Yeah. So the day I got there was Wednesday. I left Chicago on Tuesday overnight. Get there, slept about 2 hours when I got there, and then Oxford Speedway was running, and it's a teamed event, which is a little different for me. So got to go up in the suite. We actually walked around. There were some vintage Speedway bikes on display, and then they went out after everything was done later, but they took us to the center of the racetrack for a while. We were in a glassed-in case, and we went to the center, and I'm just watching, and we probably watched 4 or 5 races, and they ran 15 races, and earn points as you go. And I looked at Jeff, and I was like, hey, the commentator isn't talking during the races. And we just thought it was just a fluke deal, but every race he wasn't commentating. He'd commentate as they came onto the racetrack, tell them who they were, and maybe a little something about each rider.
Background, yeah.
And then they come on in the middle of the back straightaway, go around, line up, and those guys take forever to line up. I know they don't have any clutches, and they lay them over and clean them out and back up and go forward. You hear the clutch, the centrifugal clutch squealing and stuff. But so I would think he'd be sitting there talking, and he was standing right beside us, and he wasn't doing nothing. And I said, Jeff, he isn't talking. He goes, you want to do one? I'm like, yeah. So he actually was on the DTRA site, and he went live. And so I just built it up, because I didn't know who they were either, because they give you a program when you walk in the door, and everybody over there takes notes, just like how my Graham would do that,
like
take
scoring,
notes.
yeah.
Yes, and they're all hardcore. Everybody had a program, everybody had pins. But anyway, I didn't have one with me when I was in the center of the track. I said, so, okay, the guy in the blue helmet, he seems to be going good. He's won 3 races. And I said, they come out of the track, they do a practice start. And I kind of explained, I just kind of built it up. And I was like, and then the ribbon goes up, and I'm used to the gate drops for the green, so the ribbon goes up and they take off. And I called it for like a lap and a half or 2, and then there was a wreck in turn number 4, and he kind of cut it off after that. I was going to keep talking, but no, it was fun. It was really
great.
fun, but I was like, why isn't he talking? And they said, because he can't hear. I'm like, the people inside that glassed-in case could hear you the entire time. So that was a poor excuse, but I don't know. Maybe it's tradition.
It's like some kind of tradition.
It's probably something different,
Yeah.
than what we're used to. I mean, like, I do most of my commentating while they're racing,
Right.
while the bikes are going.
Yeah.
So It was just different, but I enjoyed it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's and not to dwell on speedway racing or that race, but it's a team sport, right? So it's two
Right.
teams meet up.
Correct.
And it's so each team has 12 riders.
No, they only had like 6 or 7 riders, but somehow they mix it up so like each rider gets to race each other rider at some point.
Like
There's
different
50
skill levels and handicaps and stuff.
Nope. There was just heads up. So they put 4 of them out there at a time. That one, the front row is 4, 2 from each team. And if you win the race, you get 3 points, 2 for second, 1 for third, and you don't get any points for fourth. So you need to finish good every single race, and so do your teammates. And you add up the points at the end of the night. And the hometown team won, and that put them into the playoffs. And they went to Scotland on the next Tuesday in the playoffs, but they got bumped out. But
Right. And it's like it's basically like you represent Oxford, or you represent
Correct.
Newcastle,
Right.
or you
Right.
represent
Right.
Bath or
and,
something.
and Anthony Brown, who is pretty much responsible for having me come over there again, said that if you're racing speedway, you can run like 3 or 4 nights a week right now. And
Wow.
he said some people leave a speedway bike in one country, and then they leave another one in another country, and then they just grab their gear bag. And he said some of them even leave gear bags, and they just go back and forth. Sometimes they fly, sometimes they drive. So it sounds like flat track days of the old
Yeah.
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
But man, they're just
How cool.
It's a way more popular over there. Speedway is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me pause here for a second and unpack a few things. I did bring.
I see you
brought
sweating
a
over there,
pen
Brock.
and some paper. Okay, so I do have some questions.
They brought some beers. They brought beers. Does that count?
Okay, here's the question that I have for you.
All right.
You said when you went to the speedway race. By the
Yes.
way, is this the FIM? Is this the
No,
the
that-
highest level? Is this
That was it. Was I didn't even see a sanctioning body for the speedway. I don't.
how
I'm
many
sure
people?
there was
How many
something.
people are watching something like that?
Live in the grandstands, I would say maybe 1,200.
Okay,
And a
okay.
lot of them were regulars. You could definitely tell. They all had the gear on, the hats on that matched.
It's like a soccer match kind of vibe,
yes,
right?
Yes, and it was at a dog track, so the dog track ran around the outside of the speedway track.
Sure.
So
While it was happening.
So you're like really,
no, I wish.
you're
I
really
wish.
far away from the races.
Yeah, a little bit. But they did have TVs inside. They had. They were also showing some simulcast of another, probably the competitors, but they were showing that inside the area too, and you could.
It's a Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. Yeah,
Yeah,
Wednesday night. Yeah, it wasn't Tuesday night like here, like what we're doing. It was Wednesday.
Someday they'll be up to our speed.
One day.
When you said that you got there was vintage speedway bikes on display. What's the difference between a vintage speedway bike and a modern speedway bike? What changes in technology have they made in short form? You don't have to go long form.
A lot of it was probably the size of the engines and the suspension. Some of them didn't have. I mean, they have little travel anyway, but just the geometry of the frames, the way that the engines were pointed, you could just tell that they were older machines just by looking at them. I mean, different brands too. You know, like,
Jawas were big back then, right?
Right, right.
But not so much
I don't even know what
anymore.
they were using right now because
Yeah.
we didn't get in the pits to see the new stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it's just technology, I think.
All right, give me one more question, guys, and then I'll turn you loose.
Uh-oh.
So I have this question written earlier. So you said that flat track is growing in England, or
I
you
believe
could
so.
feel the energy.
I think so.
So explain to me, and of course we all have our own answers, but how is flat track growing in comparison in the face of speedway? You know what I'm saying?
Over there?
Yeah.
I think Speedway's already established and it's still popular. What I was told is what we went and saw was like AAA, like the farm teams, like the getting there. So we didn't see the best of the best Speedway racers. So that to me tells me that there's lower levels of Speedway to work their way up to the top. The flat tracking, I think, is just getting more and more popular. I think I could feel the racers were faster this year than even last year. And to me, that's incredible. I mean, I know Jeffrey Carver was there last year with the school and only like 10 people could attend it because it's one versus, with 10 people there. But just the way they're taking it serious. They've got involvement. Royal Enfield was the title sponsor. They had some Royal Enfields over there. Last year there was Indian was the sponsor, so there's an FTR, is it FTR 1200 is the street bike version, but they were flat tracking it. But they're getting more and more involvement from other brands. They're bringing more American bikes over there. I think somebody told me one of the bikes out there was one of Chris Carr's old ones. And then somebody else's was one of Babe DeMay's old bikes. So they're bringing more stuff over, or they're getting their hands on more stuff and trying more different things and different kinds of bikes. But I think it's getting more popular. I don't know how it's getting popular other than word of mouth.
Sure.
That's great.
Why would a kid choose flat track over speedway?
That's something I don't know. I
Sideburn magazine.
possibly.
Yeah, it's like the
I mean,
rock and roll,
yeah.
versus the square kind of thing.
I mean, Speedway, Speedway, I have a little bit of knowledge. I remember I was going over there a lot, like 20 some years ago, and I remember going to a newsstand when magazines were huge, and there was like a whole section of like a big newsstand that was just, there was probably 30 different Speedway magazines.
Wow.
And I remember I was like picked up a magazine, I started looking at it, and I was talking to someone about it, and this older fellow came up behind me and said like, "Oh, you like Speedway?" And I was like, "I don't really know that much about it." And he's like, "Oh, they just knocked down this Coliseum in London that was just, they had Speedway races like 4 nights a week. And it was just for Speedway. It wasn't for soccer. It wasn't for, anything else. It was just Speedway. And there used to be places like that all over England, and you could race, 7 nights a week. And, it was such it was a massive, massive industry. I mean, I think it's really, really, really big in Poland, but in England it was massive. And I think it sounds like it kind of went down, and now it's coming
on the
back.
rise again too. I think so. I believe you're right, but it's just incredible. I mean, like flat track was huge here for a long, long time too, and it kind of went away for a while. I think it's on the incline.
Yeah, not super fast.
Not a super fast incline, but it's on the right direction right now.
That's good.
Okay. Well,
so
thanks.
speaking of that, like what do you? I mean, you've been involved in American flat track for such a long time. Not AFT, the organization, but just the culture and the racing. What do you see? And this may be like the cart before the horse, or like a question that we ask at the end of the podcast. But like, what have you been seeing over the past few years?
Well, I've been with American flat track for 15 years, but I've been in flat track my whole life. My grandpa raced. My dad raced, my uncle raced, 2 of my aunts raced, my cousin raced, and myself. So I've been there for a long time. I mean, I left for a little while. I didn't want to race flat track, so I raced bicycle motocross first. I raced motocross after that, and then I decided to go flat track after I broke a lot of bones. But I think, everybody talks about back in the day and how great it was back in the day. Well, was it really? I mean, I know there was a lot of riders, but how good were those riders and the track conditions,
Oh, interesting.
I mean, think about that. I mean, so like the track conditions now, they were a lot better this year than last year, and so they're still trying to improve that. And that's a never-ending battle with Mother Nature and the tracks we go to and what we have to work with. So that's a never-ending battle. But I think way back in the day, we didn't have computers. We didn't have as much TV. We didn't have as many options of things to do.
Yeah,
now,
distractions.
Exactly. Now motocross is huge. Now we got freestyle motocross. Now you got skateboarding, you got X Games, there's so many options. Why would a kid right down the street from right here, why would a kid want to go race flat track? I mean, how would they find out about it?
Yeah.
It seems like right now the people that race flat track, either it's in their family like me, or their best friend does it, or an aunt or an uncle or a cousin or something races flat track. So, okay, let's go try it. Cameron Smith, for example.
I was going to use
out
example.
of Coatesville, Pennsylvania. I don't know what's in the water out there, but something is, because a lot of fast guys and girls come from Pennsylvania.
That's what he said.
But it's like they, and the reason Cameron started racing is because his friends did it at school.
Yeah.
Instead of going to play in a stick and ball sport, he said, "I'm going to try it."
Yeah.
And his family knows nothing about racing. No offense to them, but it's just a fact. And I love his story. Because he's shown that somebody can do that.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it
Yeah.
if they put your mind to it,
Yeah.
and you get the right opportunities, and you practice, and you hone your craft.
Yeah. And he's obviously got skill, but
Yes.
he got to try it and loved it, and then just kept
And
doing
now
it and kept
you're
doing it.
hooked.
And he got
Right.
hooked, and then he get better and better and better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good story. There must be something in the water in Coatesville.
Something, yeah, and it's just right around that area too. And it's just, I don't know if it's because there's a lot more tracks out there. I don't know if they just push each other, make each other faster. I think that has a lot to do with it. I know, like when I was growing up, it was the Michigan Mafia, and I was told that they were fast because they could race all year long. They raced on the ice all the time, and that's good. So now people from California, they could race year round. The trend is right now, a lot of these flat trackers are going to Florida, moving to Florida,
Right.
or even staying in Florida in the wintertime so they can ride. And I like that. The more you ride, the more comfortable you are on the motorcycle, the faster you're going to go.
Yeah.
for
Jesse
sure.
and Morgan moved down there.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
I was going to ask you a question. This was something I wanted to ask before. Is like you Coatesville, PA, like came off of your tongue.
Right.
You have to manage so many facts from all these racers, from all these years of racing, and knowing the backgrounds of all these people and their names and their family members and where they're from and what bikes they've ridden.
Right.
How do you manage that?
I think I'm blessed. I think I have a gift. I don't know where I got it. I don't honestly, between us in this room, I hate reading.
Really?
I cannot stand reading. I would listen to stuff all day. But if I want to learn something, I consume it. I live for flat track. I mean, basically. So I do have a notebook. It's pretty thick, and I write in it after every race. I have a cheat sheet on top that I keep track of. Who set fast time, who won the heats, or probably who won the dashes, who used their provisional start, and then who won the main events in each class. So that's a cheat sheet just to get me through TV time. But also when I go inside, I keep results from every race from that year. I have the overall points from the year, all 15 years I've announced. It's in there. So if I want to pull back a stat like has this guy made a main event before? Well, sometimes that might take me a little bit longer. Sometimes it's quicker just to shoot a text to Bert Sumner.
I was gonna say, just get Bert on the phone, like, hey, Bert.
But see if you're live on TV on FS1 or live on Fans Choice.
He's still following like that hard?
Oh God, he knows everything.
That guy is incredible. I mean, it's just unequaled.
So I don't know how he does it. I mean, I have stats and I keep books and I keep different stats. But if I have any question about anything like leading up to it, I study during the week, and I go through my notes, and more so going through my notes for me to have it, so I put it in my memory bank. So I have it in my book if I need it. Sometimes you don't have time for that. So I know right now that Jared Meese needs 6 more wins to tie Chris Carr for second all time on the win list. Well, why? I mean, I don't know why. Why do I know that?
Yeah,
why do I don't know.
So great though.
It's because I love the sport, and I think that means that I'll retain it. Like, I don't even know what I did 2 weeks ago, but I know what Jared Meese did or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's
do you write the I didn't mean to cut you off, but do you help write the press releases for the AFT races? Because I love reading those recaps on Sunday night.
Right.
Are they Sunday nights or Mondays?
Yeah, it just depends on what day we race, but I don't have anything to do with that. If I see a mistake, I'll shoot a message over to somebody. I don't even know who's writing those at the moment.
But they do a good job.
Right, and they have stat people too, but up till about 2017, they would give out a media guide to the people that would go there just to take pictures or just to report on the stuff, and that was my Bible for the longest time. Well, for the last 6 years, I don't have that. So that's me or Bert, and we go back and forth and keep track of that. Like, I like keeping track of even stats on mechanics. How many wins do these mechanics have? Because Bill Warner is the guru. He's what everybody's looking for. Kenny Tolbert's coming. I think Kenny's about done, so I don't know if he's ever going to catch Bill Warner. But just all that little stuff like that. But, I don't keep track of or have stats about family relationships and stuff like that. That's just in my memory bank somewhere. I don't know how I can find it, but I don't know what file that's under or whatever. But some stuff just comes out.
That's amazing.
What is so like Jordan and LeBron, like Carr and Meese, like, is that a symbiote? Is that like is that a thing?
I think so. Right now, Scottie Parker has 94 Grand National wins, 9 championships. Jared Meese now, if you look at how the rules were in each of the years, he has 9 championships too. One of them, I would say, is not an overall Grand National championship. It's like looking through smoke, though. It's hard to say that he's not a 9-time champion, because he is.
Yeah.
But now I don't know what Meese wants more. I don't know if he wants that 10th championship to have more than Scottie Parker, or I don't know if he wants more wins, because right now Scottie Parker's got 94. Chris Carr has 78. Jared Meese now has 72. So next season, Meese can pass Carr to be second all time. But how long will he keep going? And why? Does he want his name at the top of every record? I don't know.
What else is he going to do?
Exactly. Well,
he's got that hunger too.
If he's willing and able.
Right.
I was just watching a documentary on the brothers from one plays for the Eagles, one plays for the Chiefs.
Kelsey brothers.
Mm-hmm. And he's struggling with that, like trying to decide whether he just lost a Super Bowl to his brother.
Right.
Right. And he's like, man, I can't do this again. But he found the gumption. He's going for it again. So
Yeah.
it's
You have to. I mean, it's what's in him, and I think Jared Meese is the most focused human being I've ever met.
Bold statement.
He nothing distracts him. Like he's a promoter of the Lima half mile.
Yeah.
I know.
I was gonna say he's a hell of a promoter too.
I know little things that promoters have to go through, but he can somehow tune that out. He had a baby, didn't phase him one bit. Some people, when they have a baby, they back it down. It's just you don't just twist it all the way wide open. So, but nothing has changed his outlook. Nothing has changed his drive. So I think it's up to him how long he wants to keep going. Luckily for him, he hasn't had any real bad serious injuries. I know he broke his forearm pretty bad at an all-star race, but that's just a forearm. It's nothing serious, and then he had a bad knee injury that it was worse than we ever were told. But he did that race or motocross and just practicing and staying in shape. So it can happen at any time.
Yeah.
But it's like, how long does he want to keep going? Yeah, I mean, his wife used to race. She was awesome. And I think the drive is still there. So I think he'll go until he gets whatever record he wants to get.
Yeah.
I think they're getting tired. I think, Kenny Tolbert's tired. Craig Rogers is the team owner. And I've been told that when one of those three, either Meese, Rogers, or Tolbert are done, they're all walking away.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. And that, I don't know how much longer the Indian is going to be competitive either. He's the only one that's still beating everybody else on an Indian, because the Yamahas are, stepping up now. KTM's there. So.
And what about these? Not to get gossipy, but what about these Honda
Hondas.
engines?
They're coming.
Yeah.
They'll be here next year.
Yeah.
And what rider's going to ride them? I've heard rumors, but how long will it take?
I haven't heard anything. What is it?
So it's
don't know
not
anything
the
about it.
African Twin. They put out a press release not too long ago, and I think they're from Australia or something. It's a 750 Honda of some sort, and they've got two of them. Dallas Honda has two of them, and they got help with Mike Vincent Construction. And I've heard one rider's kind of signed already, but I don't know if they're going to have two, but right now they only have two motors. So I'm glad Honda's coming back.
That's
It's been a
cool.
long time since we
Yeah.
had Honda in the premier class, like 21 years, something like that.
And this is a privateer thing?
Yes.
So they're just like, they found a model or found a motor. I'm like,
Yep.
let's do it.
Yep, and I think they had some big wigs from Honda were there at the Dallas Honda store in suits. So that means they're pretty important people to me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just how the Japanese do it, but maybe they're gonna have some support from Honda.
Cool.
That's cool.
Honda said a long time ago when they pulled out they were never coming back, but
Because it has to
Never
be
say
a
never.
production motorcycle, right? Like it
right.
has to fit
there
parameters.
has to be certain parameters, yeah, and so many bikes have to be made too.
Yep.
Like I know that was a big deal when Harley Davidson had the road tax that they put the Harley side covers on. Well, they had to produce 100 of them or whatever. So I mean, there's ways around some rules, but yeah, that is a production-based bike. Maybe it's not available in the States yet. Maybe this is how they're going to debut it and bring it into the States. I don't know.
Cool.
Interesting.
All right. Hold down, everybody. Okay?
Jeremy's
Everybody
turn.
take a drink.
Oh, yeah.
Relax,
Dr.
because this is
Pepper.
a lot to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
Again, let me remind you, I have a piece of paper and pencil here, and I've
I
been keeping
don't.
track and listening patiently. But there's a lot of dangling participles.
Man, where are we going to start?
There's
You
a
want
lot
we
of
haven't even
dangling
started ways to
Nemesis,
start. Did you know that, Jeremy?
participle.
Hang on here. So, hey, Warren, on your wedding day, just imagine this is a testament to Jared Meese's focus. On your wedding day, you got dressed. You didn't get married yet.
Not yet.
It's coming.
Uh-oh.
Scott, when you got married.
I
Wait a
believe you
minute.
should refer to
Okay.
yourself, Brock.
I was laughing about Warren getting
when you got
I'm
married,
laughing about
Jeremy.
me getting
When
What'd
I
you
got
do?
married, I woke up, I got dressed, I was shaking, I wrote some speeches, I shook a lot of hands, and I went for dinner. It was a very stressful day. Well, Jared Meese he raced the Springfield Mile after he got married.
I married him.
That's, what I'm
did?
saying?
I married him
No
on the front
way.
straightaway at Springfield,
Talk
Illinois.
about a focus, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know how he's so focused. He is incredible.
Yeah. He's
You ever been to a wedding where the groom passes out, 'cause he's
Yeah, 'cause
so
they're so
nervous
nervous.
and he's got the suit.
Well, the best part was they came up to the wedding on two bikes, and one had her number plate on it, one had his, and then they hopped off and they unzipped part of her dress came off, the lower part of her dress came off, and she side saddled on the back of the bike with the number 1 plate, and they
No
went around the
way.
lap. It was awesome.
That's cool.
It was awesome.
A testament
That's
to his
really
focus.
cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
We were talking a little bit about stats. Now, when you guys watch football or baseball, they have someone that does that. I'm impressed that you are doing that on the fly
You know, when I do X Games, they had somebody sitting beside me because I'm live on national TV, either ESPN or ABC or whatnot. But they had somebody that would hand me a note. I mean, and I knew
Someone
most
was
of
just
them.
there, just like.
Well, they had, the X Games is incredible. We do conference calls like 2 or 3 a week for a few weeks leading up to it for every discipline. Like I wasn't only there for flat track. I was doing, best trick, best whip, all that fun stuff too. But the only thing I did for TV.
You were announcing those events?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, and with another with team like
right.
So like guest guy or lead guy or
for flat track, I was the expert or the color commentator.
Yep.
For the other stuff, for all the other moto stuff, I was the live event play-by-play guy, and then I had to have a color commentator beside me that had already done freestyle motocross or already did best whip or whatnot, and then we actually did enduro cross too. They call it something else, but had different people sitting beside me, and so that's a challenge all in itself. You might not even know that person, and they throw you up there and you sit there and start talking. Well, it's fine when we're just talking right here. I mean, I know you. I've never met you before, but we're having a great conversation. But imagine being on national TV. These lights are 10 times brighter, so you're trying not to make a mistake, and you're trying not to, talk over this person that you don't know. You get in a rhythm with people. So I would like throw him a softball pitch and let the guy hit the home run. That was my job. I'm not there to be the expert on any of that freestyle motocross stuff because I never did it.
Yeah.
But you get the other person involved and let them tell them what's going on.
How did that come about? I mean, what did they ask you? Did you pitch it? Like where?
So the X Games came along because when Harley Davidson got involved in flat track, they wanted the flat track announcer.
Yeah.
So they got a hold of me, and then I'm already there, and so they said, can you stick around for 3 more days or whatever and do the live event stuff? I'm like, sure. So I had a contract for TV and I worked with one whole team for TV, and they had a contract for the live event stuff, and I worked with another. They have a whole production team, staff, and everything for each. Mm-hmm. And so it was just incredible. I'm just lucky. I mean, I did a couple down in Austin, Texas, and I did 2 or 3 in Minnesota, where the Vikings play right now. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy.
Cool.
It was a lot of fun.
Cool.
When we talked about your skill set of announcing as a pro and the stats that go with that and the knowledge that you have to have and then being on TV, that's a skill set in itself. And we can unpack more of that. And I'm impressed by that, but I am more impressed with your knowledge and your announcement of amateur events.
Oh, yeah.
Where you would event. Did your boy Max run a Springfield amateur day or
No, not yet. I think we're leading up to that next year.
Well, or the amateur nationals, the flat track amateur nationals. So
a lot of fun.
So you're there from 8 to 8 generally.
Yeah.
And
long days.
There might be 3 or 4 in a class, and your voice is important for many reasons. But the main reason is your voice. You give sanctity to this event, right? Although there might be 3 85s, for example.
Right.
You're calling it like there's 12 85s.
And like it's a Grand National.
And like it's a Grand National.
Right. It's not those 3 riders' fault that it's not a full class. So, and the fans in the stands or the parents or whoever's watching, it's not fair for me just to sit back and say, oh, this one doesn't matter. I could just, phone this one in or whatever. So I give it my all for every single race because that kid out there that's winning or it's in second or third or whatever, that's somebody's kid. And he's trying just as hard as Jared Meese. He's trying just as hard as Cameron Smith. He's trying, he's there. He's putting in the effort. So I feel I have to put in the effort too.
Yeah, 100.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because and to take that one step further, I'll also try to explain, where they're running on the racetrack. I'll try to explain, where the fast line is. And Dave Zanotti gave me the best compliment. He said he can sit back there in the pits and keep working on bikes and just listen to me and know what the track's doing, knowing if it's getting faster or slower. And I thought that was awesome, because
cool.
because he's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
His dad won championships as an owner. He's won championships as an owner. And for him to tell me that was pretty special.
Yeah, that's great.
You mentioned that in England there isn't an announcer during the event, and I'm of course I'm praising you for the announcing skills that you have, because anybody that's ever tried to announce, hey, I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to do it. No. Well, I'm on a mic a lot or I talk a lot. It's just my general persona, and it's tough. You quickly run out of something to say. You need these catchphrases or these rhythms that you've already have developed. But my point is, it isn't the actual language, it's your cadence that also is equally as exciting. So if I'm at the Springfield Mile and I can't hear you, but I hear your cadence. You are telling me by the vowels coming out and the tone in which they are that this something exciting just happened or is about to happen.
That's very true.
And I need to pay
I
attention
never
to
thought
it.
about that, but that's very true.
It's just like if I imitate with mumble a horse race, right?
Right.
And there's we all
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that rhythm. That to me is equally as important as the
Yes.
motors themselves.
Yes.
Definitely, I agree. Yeah, and the one you said there was no commentating. That was over at the Speedway race, so it wasn't at the flat track race.
Well, yeah, you know what I meant.
I just want to make clear. I want to step on anybody's toes over there in England because I still want to go back next year.
Wait, I had a quick question.
Yep.
Maybe this is off topic because we still haven't even discussed like how did you get started?
Yeah, that's
doing
that's
this?
usually our most important point.
Yeah.
That's the elephant in the room.
That's gonna be a fun story.
Endurocross.
Yes.
Are you commentating on that
Yes.
too? Really?
Yep.
Cool.
So last Saturday I was in Everett, Washington, just north of Seattle a little ways, and I've done that series probably 3 years. Not the whole series because it always overlaps with something else. So we kind of have been splitting up, but this year I'm doing the whole series. It's 6 rounds in 5 different cities. One show is a doubleheader, which blows me away because they go through all that effort to bring in all that stuff just for a one-night show. But
which
the
is
place
so
was
wild.
packed. I mean, it was packed, and they haven't been in Everett in 5 years or 6 years, I think they said. So to have that many people show up again, it's good. And they get riders from all over the world. Some of the best off-road riders come over to compete in this series, and what they do on a motorcycle just blows me away. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
No way.
mean,
I would die.
They're doing it in 48 seconds. I'd be doing one lap in about 4 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if I
Yeah.
didn't fall off.
Yeah.
Is that the one we're trying to
Yeah,
to
that's
go
what
to?
I want to go to with you guys. It's the one where they bring in tires and rocks and logs, and
Refrigerators,
Yeah,
microwaves.
Everything, trees,
Yeah.
everything.
The amount of preparation that they do inside these arenas. I mean, we know what it's like. I think we have luckily for us, we have the kind of easiest track prep situation that you can
Right.
imagine. This series takes that idea and just turns it on its head.
Well, and then not to cut you off, but the ice was still there because it's a hockey rink inside this stadium.
No way.
So they lay down plastic, then they lay down plywood, then they lay down more plastic, and then they bring the dirt and the rocks and the tires and everything, and they build a jump. And I mean, the finish line is usually a pretty big jump. It's usually like tractor tires standing upright, and they put a little dirt, and they're hitting that, and it's popping them up, and they're making like a 50-foot double out of something I wouldn't do. Nothing. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, these guys are nuts.
The amount of effort to put like an event like that together are just amazing. And what's the vibe? I mean, you've been to thousands of different races.
It's different, but
Yeah.
The pit area, I could feel the energy in the pits, which was good. They only had a small area where the pros would all pit, and then the amateurs were pitted on these roads, on the city streets, up and down. There was a lot of riders. So they started qualifying earlier in the day. I don't start talking until 5:30 when the gates open. All the amateurs have already ran their qualifiers, so then we come out with opening ceremonies, which is fun. I love opening ceremonies. It doesn't matter what sport I'm doing because you're hyping up the crowd, you're building up the energy, and I love doing that. So after opening ceremonies, the pros go out there and do one lap. That's their hot laps. That's how they start the first moto, and the pros run 3 motos while the amateur main events are mixed in. So it's cool for the amateurs to get to race in a building with that many people. I remember back in the day when I was racing, you walk into a building and the grandstands are full. It's just
special.
It pumps you up,
Yeah.
and so it's good. It's a different vibe, but it's there. I mean, the energy's there.
I want to go see it. It's
You
like
got
on the
to.
top of my list
You have
to go.
It seems like almost all of them right now this year in the Pacific Northwest for whatever
Right.
reason. I guess it's not as popular on the East Coast, but the GNCC stuff is huge out there. So I don't know why. I don't know if they just need to go out there once and try it. But transporting all that stuff, and then all those bikes and riders have to get out there too. But
cross country. Yeah.
yeah,
seems
so
crazy.
that gets expensive. So I think they're staying where they know they can sell tickets.
I'd love to go out to have beers with the promoters that do that, and just talk about the logistics of putting that event together.
Exactly.
That just seems just the most insane thing I've ever seen.
And they bring in specialists, that build the tracks.
Let me pause Flat Track for just a little bit. And of course, Scottie Deubler's illustrious announcing career. Let's unpack you a little bit.
All right.
I don't think you get enough respect in your knowledge base. You mentioned that you come from a racing family.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go back earlier. Give me a town. You grew up in Oklahoma. Tell us about your home life.
I was
You're going to school. all that stuff.
Born in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Oh wow.
My dad and mom divorced when I was like 7. I ended up in Colorado for 1 year, and my mom got sick. Next thing I know, my dad's there. Next thing I know, they're married. Next thing I know, we're moving to Oklahoma. So we got out of Sioux Falls, a small town, South Dakota. So my dad knew everybody. Everybody knew the Deublers in Sioux Falls, and mom said, let's go do something different. So they decided Oklahoma City. My dad thought it because it was more centrally located. There's not a lot of flat track racing down there, however.
You picked it because of flat track.
Because it's centrally located. My dad was already done racing, but he didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. And I was still young, so I didn't even really want to race flat track back then. But we decided to go just something different. And my dad's 2 sisters were already there, so it made it easy for my dad to go down there. And my dad's sister is my mom's best friend, which is kind of strange, but they're still best friends. But mom and dad are divorced. They're married to other people now. But so I growing up in Oklahoma City, you know, so it's you know, a lot of farmland. I'm in the city though, so I'm a city boy. I don't have nothing to do with farms or horses or cows or anything like that. But going to school, just did the typical kid stuff, and then I rode a lot of dirt bikes. We just trail ride and stuff like that. And then I decided I wanted to try racing. So probably 13, 14 years old, picked up a BMX bike.
And Dad was like, finally.
Yeah. You know what? And that's, I will give credit to both my mom and my dad. They didn't force me to do anything. They let me decide when it was time to go racing, or if I wanted to race, or you know, that they highly suggested I tried band. They highly suggested I tried baseball, and you know, nothing really caught my interest. And then then I got the racing bug. So it's BMX first. I do.
Was the old man a mechanic, and like, did you do the whole family thing, or how'd that work?
Yeah, so he worked most of the time when I was young, he worked at an auto parts store. But we had a nice shop at our house, and you know, it was like a 4-car garage, you know, with the wall in between. So we had the race shop on one side, and we had like all the machine stuff on the other side. So he was hands-on everything, you know, and he would tinker with a lot of stuff, and he raced cars. You know, before I got into racing anything, he raced cars at the local, you know, at the Oklahoma City half mile is where it was, but there was a short track in the middle too. But so he loved working on stuff. So he was excited when I decided to start racing. BMX first, then I don't know, it wasn't fast enough anymore all of a sudden. So here we go with motocross. Broke a lot of bones, and I think I never made any money. I made it up to intermediate, and then one day, it was a wintertime race. I can remember it. I can remember just like it was yesterday for some reason, but they mixed the intermediates with the pros. There's probably only 3 pros or whatever, and I'm running second overall, so I'm ahead of 2 pros. So I'm thinking I'm pretty damn fast and having a good day. Well, I hit a double, and it just bucked me up and over, and crash, and collarbone is still all messed up, and 5 ribs. And my dad goes, don't you think we should try flat track now? So here we go. So we buy a 600cc Rotax.
And how old are you at this point in the story?
Probably 18 or 19 before I got a Rotax. And I tried a few little...
That's a lot of bike to go out for the first crack.
Yeah, exactly. So I tried a few flat track races on like a KDX 200 that we had lowered down with a cable, and it wasn't even our bike, but it was somebody's bike my dad had somewhere. So we tried that at an indoor short track, and it's like, all right. So yeah, my dad says, well, let's step in with both feet. So that's what we did. And so I raced, you know, like I said, there wasn't a lot of flat tracking going on in Oklahoma then, so we'd have to travel, but I went pro pretty quick. I mean, my dad goes, if you want to learn how to go fast, you got to go with the fast guys. So my hardest thing about switching from motocross to flat track is your foot placement. You know, on motocross, you put your left foot way at the front because you want all that weight on that front axle to get traction on that front tire. Flat track, you put it more beside you and you really lay it over. Well, I wasn't comfortable laying it over. My dad just said, go in the corner and throw it away. Well, this guy ain't going to go in the corner and throw it away at 50 or 60 or 80, whatever miles per hour. So that was the hardest thing to learn, is the controlled slide. And after you start figuring that out and you start traveling and racing, we raced as many races as I could. I mean, I remember racing almost every weekend, and we could hit 2 races. Sometimes we'd travel and hit as many races as we could because I wanted to get better. And we both had real jobs, and we'd race, and sometimes we'd leave halfway through the day on Friday. Sometimes we'd take Friday off. Sometimes I'd call in on the side of the road sick and, you know, race another night or whatever. But, you know, just getting as much seat time as possible to get as fast as possible. And I earned most of my points. There was an association back then called the VDTRA, Vintage Dirt Track Racing Association, which was huge. And they also had an AMA Pro class. Like, it was like a Pro-Am class. So I gained my points through racing with them, and I could travel with a vintage guy. Stoney was one of my best buddies, and he'd race in whatever vintage class he was racing, and I would travel, and we'd split the costs and stuff like that. But and now also I think part of that too is racing on all these different racetracks. That helps. Because if you can be fast at your home track, a lot of people are, but when they travel, they're not, because they're not used to all the different types of tracks. So I think what we did, going around traveling, trying all different kinds of dirt, different kinds of races, racing with different people makes you faster. So that was my path to get to the professional ranks.
At the highest level, where were you at your prime and at your highest level?
I made it all the way up to Grand National Expert. I got a national number. So 2000 was the year.
What's your number? I don't even know your number.
43.
43.
So
Wow.
there's a little more to that story too. So my grandpa was 43J, because he grew up and raced in South Dakota. That was the district letter, which I really miss the district letters. I don't like the 3-digit numbers, because to me that's motocross. I'm old school. I mean, I don't look that old.
So they give you two numbers and then they signify
A
your
letter. They give you two numbers and you have a district letter. The district letter was different as to what part of the region you were from. And what was cool about that is the hardcore race fans knew that letter J, he's from South Dakota. He must be pretty good if he's all the way down here in Florida. Just for instance.
So then the three numbers, this now doesn't signify anything?
If you have a 1 in front of it, if it's a 1 with a 3-digit number, it means you're a United States racer. If you have a different number in the front, it means you're from a different country.
Got it.
But yeah, that doesn't mean anything else other than it might be like the kid might have run 57 when he was an amateur. Well, when he gets to the pro ranks, he has to go with 157.
Uh-huh.
And then if you make a main event, you get a 2-digit number. So it's not quite as what it used to be, but I like the letter because you could always tell where somebody was from.
A little hometown pride.
Yes, and
Bert's really good at identifying those too. If you show old photos,
like pictures at the Fuel Cafe. I mean, there's so many of them up there. A lot of G's, and G's was Oklahoma, Kansas, and Colorado when I raced. But for 1 year, I think G was up here in Wisconsin, or 2 years.
Oh, really?
Something like that. Yeah, because there's a picture of one of my old buddies in there, and it's 70G. There's actually 2 of them in the Fuel Cafe, and that's probably because it was thought it was somebody from up here, but he was actually from Oklahoma. So
Crazy.
Yeah, it's just nuts how that works out. But
how did you get 43? I think that's where we were.
Yeah, so 43. So my grandpa's 43J. My dad never cared what number he was on. He'd ride for whoever, and whatever number plates were on the bike is what he would race. So I just went with what my grandpa ran. So I was 43G my entire career. And in 2000, when I got my points, Smoking Joe Kopp won the Grand National Championship. So the next year he was number 1. So the 43 was open. So out of respect, I called him and asked him if I could have the 43, and he said, of course. And we're still friends. We've been friends for a long, long time. But
that's awesome.
I didn't have to call him. I mean, it could have been mine because I was, for whatever, in the order I could pick, I got 43. So
Sure.
It just worked out. So 43 is my number.
Isn't that Jeff's number too? No, Jeff is
23.
23.
Yeah.
You talking about Carver?
We need a stats guy here.
I mean
23.
Richard Petty's number.
Yeah, Richard Petty,
right,
the king, the king.
That's what I was mistaken.
Yeah, so
Y'all the king.
numbers mean a lot to me, and I think maybe that's why I remember so many of the stats too, because I know, numbers just mean so much to me, and there's usually a story behind that number too, like it's their grandpa numbers or their uncle's number. Or whatnot.
You can't go to an amateur level, and a flat track motocross race and see tattoos of numbers.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And numbers is the language.
and the font of the numbers
Yes.
and everything. It means so much to flat track.
So that was your highest level. When did you start to dwindle, or when did the fire extinguish?
That was unfortunate events. So in 2000, the same year I got my points, my cousin was killed right in front of me in Des Moines, Iowa, on a half mile, and it was just a racing incident. But I already had a daughter at that point, and my daughter was 7. And I talked it over mostly with myself, and then with my dad. I was like, if something happens to me, what's my daughter gonna do?
Sure.
And so I just kind of hung it up, but I also still wanted to race a couple of times with my national number. So I ran a little bit in 2001 and a little bit in 2002, and I was like, you know what? If I'm not trying 100%, I'm going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Because I'm not 100% focused. I'm also not racing to my normal capacity. So I'm back here running with people that I shouldn't be back here running with. No offense to anybody.
Sure.
No.
But, that's when things happen.
Sure.
If you're not out there to go and just focus and go as fast as you can, then something stupid's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just pretty much hung it up. I mean, I've raced a few times after that, but I had my national number for 01 and 02 and started announcing in 2003. I know that's where we're going with this next question, right?
Before we go there, what were
Yeah.
you doing? What was your full-time gig?
So while I was racing, Most of the time I was working at, it's called Jack Cooper Transport, and it was a transport company. You can probably still see the trucks up here too, but they're the dark army green, and they got the orange trailers. They're car haulers. But back then, there was a job where you could bring them out of the General Motors plant in Oklahoma City, and then some days you load them on the trains. Some days you just park them in the parking lot. So, that was a Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday gig. And when you're loading them on the trains, it's piecework. So you ran, and which kept me in shape. You drive the car on the train, you strap it down, you climb down the train, you run and get another one for like 4.5 hours a day.
And you were running because you had to keep up with a quota, and they're like on your ass about it.
Because the more cars you put in that train, the more money you made.
Oh, so it's like on
piecework.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, so we hauled ass, and we did stupid stuff. I crashed probably 3 cars. I know I told one of them because I was driving. This was the first one in. We started like 4:45 in the morning or something like that, and when you drive between a train car and a train car, there's a bridge plate, it's a piece of aluminum where you click it in and it folds like so. That's how you get from one train car to the next one. Well, you're just assuming it's going to be there, right? I mean, it's dark, and I was on the top level.
Was that your responsibility to make sure it was there?
It was everybody's. So like you and somebody would go down one track, and then you come back on the other side. Well, the train cars moved. Both bridge plates had fallen down. I'm the first one on, and you're supposed to go like 7. We're probably going at least 17, maybe 27. I don't know. You're going fast, and the bridge plate wasn't there, and my front end just dropped, and it's dark. Remember when an airbag goes off and it's dark and the lights are on? I thought everything was on fire because there was just white powder, and I thought it was smoke, and I was dazed. Well, the airbag went off in my face. My hat, I was wearing a hat, ended up in the back window. Anyways, it was just a whole big ordeal, and we had to physically try to get the car up out of there, and then we had to back it off. And
everybody's losing money.
Yeah, and
What kind of car was it?
exactly. Oldsmobile. No, it was a Cutlass Sierra. It was either the Pontiac 3000, Oldsmobile Sierra, Cutlass Sierra,
Yeah.
and we had a Cadillac version of it for a little while. But
So wait, you were
Yeah.
running across 17 train cars.
no, so they only put them 5 deep. So they back them in. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a ramp back here, so you drive it up, and you're
Yeah.
going boom, 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 boom,
Boom, boom, boom.
and you go all the way to the 5th one. You
Right.
stop, and whoever's the first one on, you throw your chalks on this on one side of the tires, throw a strap over, and then you start ratcheting them. Well, that's a whole nother deal because you don't want to be in there ratcheting them all the way down because it's like 5 cars on each train, so it's 20. So you got to ratchet 25 cars. So you try to ratchet as fast as you can, then you drop the ratchet for the next guy, and you take off hauling ass to go get another one because I'd rather get the heck out of there because I'm tall, and those train. I'm bent over at the waist,
Right.
and it hurt. I mean,
Yeah.
it just
And you guys are working as
Wow.
a team?
yes.
All right, so
there's
the piecework came with the team.
so 9 men, however many cars you got divided by how many hours you work. So you tried to get like 12 cars per man per hour, and it was like $41 an hour. Well, this is back in 1991. I thought I was rich.
Yeah.
But that gave me money to go racing.
Yeah,
That's cool.
And it was twofold because it kept me in shape.
sure.
Because I'm running, I'm busting my ass.
And it was a job that you come in and out of, like, or if you had to be there,
I had to be there. So, like I said, a couple times I may have called in sick from the
Got
side
it.
of the road, or
but no weekends.
there was. It depended on what crew you were on too. So you could, as you got seniority, you could bid for whatever shift you wanted to work on. So yeah,
Your team was pissed because they.
because I'd be because if you miss a day, then they try to pull somebody from another crew to
Yeah.
come up, and they make sure there's 9 people because they got to get those cars out of there.
Yeah.
And they work every day except for Thanksgiving and Christmas because the railroad is moving nonstop.
Yep.
So it's crazy.
Wow.
Let me go back and zoom in just a little bit. You have brothers or sisters?
Nope, only child.
Tell me a little bit about what your mom and dad did and what your home life was like.
So when I was little in South Dakota, my dad had a motorcycle shop, and so he worked on all kinds of different motorcycles, and he sold cars, and he was the milkman, and so he actually worked as many jobs as he could too, so he could go racing. He was a really good racer. Everybody said he was really fast. I don't remember seeing him race because when I was little, when he was racing, I was playing in the dirt or chewing on spark plugs or playing in the pond or who knows whatever. Yeah. But my dad was really good. But he was a good car salesman. He's a bullshitter. He can talk. I wonder where I get that from. Mom, when I was little, she was the babysitter, so she stayed home and babysat me and several other kids. And then as we ended up in Oklahoma, she was an administrative assistant and I love my home life. I mean, I'm a lucky guy, but if anything went wrong or if anything broke in the house, it was my fault because I'm an only child. It wasn't my brother's fault or my sister's fault. So I'm still the favorite child, though. But no, I had a great home life. I loved it. Like I said a few moments ago, they didn't force me to do anything, and they let me kind of make my own path, and I really appreciate it. They didn't force me to go race, and I don't like the parents that do that because the kid's not in it 100%, and things happen. You know, if the kid doesn't want to be there,
Yeah.
they're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not going to be Michael Jordan. They're not going to be Scottie Parker or Jared Meese.
Right.
How are we doing on time, real quick?
You got 20 minutes of memory left.
Okay. So we're doing really well.
Yeah.
You have a question?
No, I just have to go to the bathroom really bad.
Okay, are we pausing? Can we pause a second?
Can we pause? Or you guys can keep going and just I'll just jump back in. Keep the energy. My molars are floating.
Go.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, we're gonna keep it going.
Keep going.
Okay. Okay. I want to talk to you just a little bit here about being or seeing all the races that you have, because I have a little bit of a philosophy that can maybe somewhat offends people, because I'm smiling at a racetrack, and for many people that's offensive. Does this make sense? That I'm de-sanctifying this powerful event.
You know, it depends on where you're at and what kind of race, probably, but most of the racers at the level like an American flat track, they're all serious, you know, and I understand it. I don't like it because we all start racing motorcycles because it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, we want to have fun. And if you're still having fun, that's what it's about. I try to have fun as an announcer, especially at the smaller races. I know I have to be serious on TV, on FS1 and stuff like that, but at the smaller races, I'm going to have fun. I might make fun of somebody. I'm going to make fun of that corner worker because he tripped on his own shoelace or something like that. I'm not crude. I'm not rude or anything like that, but we have to all remember why we start going to the races, to have fun. So I like that you smile.
Okay, well, yeah, but I want to say that your voice, I do in my notes here, you do keep things relatively light.
Yes.
You always have a joke to pull out of your pocket, and I just want to let you know that that's much appreciated.
Good.
But when I try to keep it light, here's one thing I try to tell the riders at the riders meeting is that I'll never change what happens on the track. That is special, and people have to maneuver that themselves without my interference or cultivating.
Right.
But I do want to manipulate the pit experience, and the community experience is where I'm trying to curate.
Right.
But I was just at a race this weekend, and by the way, the testament to your announcing, to put things in perspective, this past weekend there was 58 heat races.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow.
And I think 48 mains or something like that.
Right.
And that was a 2-day event.
Okay.
And the announcer did a great job, but he was also a racer, so there's races when he's gone.
Oh yeah. So it's quiet.
So it's quiet.
Right.
And you missed that. I missed that
Yep.
that like I was saying earlier, that
How'd Loyal do?
that cadence. Let me talk about my boy in just 1 second. I'll tell you about my boy because I'm really into it as a father, and I'm sure you know this. I don't know if your daughter raced.
Nope, never.
If your daughter did anything, played golf,
Right.
tennis,
Dance.
anything, dance,
Dance.
you are right there, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
know those
Oh, yeah.
moves, and
Yep.
you're like, everybody's clapping and standing up. You're
Right.
like, oh, she didn't like this. I can
Right,
tell she
right.
missed a
She
step.
missed something, or yeah.
It's almost like I'm on the back of my son's 450. You know, when I
Riding
watch
with
him,
him? Yeah.
I'm almost doing that. So I do want to answer your question, Warren. But here's one thing that I tried to get away from this weekend, and I saw it repeatedly. The parents and the racers are continually in this dead narrative of how did you do? I got fourth. And there's never
right.
this description. I feel, maybe this is arrogant on my part, but I'm assuming you have this same skill. I like to watch the card that someone's dealt.
Mm-hmm.
You watch a fast young lady,
Right.
bad start because they're in the groove, off the groove, but they worked their way up to third.
Right.
And I
It's
saw
a great
it.
race.
And I saw what they were doing, and I would try to tell them that was a great race. Yeah, but I got fourth.
Yeah.
You know.
You got to think about the big picture. And when you're a racer, all you want to do is win. It doesn't matter if my race was great. To me, I wanted to win every single race every time you go out there. So I wasn't satisfied with third or fourth. I mean, maybe that's it. I don't know, because
Sure.
we're looking at it different now, though. Now, like now, I'm there for the entertainment. I'm there to watch the races, and that could be the best ride of the night. But they got third.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. But you notice that, and
Yes.
you highlight that.
Yeah, and I do try to keep track of where everybody starts. I mean, depending on who I'm working for, the lineups sometimes are different. Sometimes they're all numerical order, but I will try to remember, okay, I'll keep using Cameron Smith because we've already established him. Cameron Smith started 12th. Well, he finished 3rd, so that means he passed 9 guys. How did he do that? How come nobody else passed 9 guys? You know, so that's part of the show, and that's part of what I want to make people aware of. You know, like maybe they weren't watching Cameron. Maybe they're watching the battle for first. Well, what about this guy that started 12th and now he's 3rd?
Sure.
So
bring people's awareness to
There's
it.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
And also, I was told that I'm an informative announcer. So I also try to think back of when I was racing. What did I want to hear from the announcer? I wanted to hear what race we're on, what class is on, and maybe how many people are transferring to the next race or to the main event. So I try to say that a lot.
I got to go back because, again, I've been doing racing with my son for so long and going to these long events, and never once did you ever, and I would have, race 47, Mad Dog Modified.
12 to 15-year-old riders, get your ass to the line. Yeah, no, you.
Not one time did you ever just.
Like I said a moment ago, everybody's out there and everybody's trying just as hard, in my opinion. So I can't do that. It's not my DNA, I guess.
Did you guys? Did you ask this question while I was gone? Do you have a favorite race that you commented on, or a most memorable?
Good question.
So
you thought of that.
That is a great question. Bathroom stop was definitely needed, huh? So
Suddenly have some
my favorite race was actually Shayna Texter's first pro race win. I actually still have it in my iTunes.
She was. It was the Knoxville Mile. Knoxville
Iowa half mile. And I just went there a few weeks ago for a non-national race. But yeah, to see her win her first pro race and know how much it meant to her that she's a 3rd-generation racer, the first female to win at the pro ranks was awesome. And she started 6th. And worked her way up and passed him. And I was actually
I have goosebumps.
I was actually cheering for her
because this, you can YouTube this race.
Yes.
And it is a spectacularly announced race.
I appreciate it. And that was a long time ago. And I know my style has changed since then. And I was actually calling Briar Bauman the wrong last name because it was Bauman. Well, that's what my dad calls him, and I don't know why my dad calls him that, but it's Bauman. And she actually had to beat her now husband to win her first race, and it was a hell of a race. And I was actually cheering for her.
You can tell that in the announcement.
The crowd was behind her 100% because, not necessarily because of me, but I was helping. I was helping that, and it just every time they came by, they were cheering for. They were standing. They stood up the whole race, and that was probably my favorite race.
That's cool.
I've called a lot of races, and that was probably still my favorite race. Just her first pro win, and she's won 19 times now. But it's incredible just to watch that unfold.
Sure. It's awesome.
Amazing.
So one dangling participle, Warren, you asked about my son Loyal, and I don't ever want to use this medium that we have to promote my son. I really try to be conscious of that. But I want to answer your question. 2 things, though, to work you into at Scottie Deubler. One time at the Springfield Mile, we were waiting for the riders' meeting to begin, and you were standing behind me, and I said, hey, by the way, it's Loyal Proc. And you were like, Proc. I heard you try to do that. For the rest of the day, I remember every time you were like, and there's Loyal. But now I screwed you up because
I just want to make sure I got it right for you.
I was feeling the pressure. I almost wanted to go back up and say hey, it's okay
instead of Proch,
whatever it was.
Prac, I think I was going Prac.
Yeah. And then I said that, and now I felt like, oh man, I was putting too much.
To be fair, I was also saying his first name wrong because on the paperwork at some of the races it was Laurel.
Yeah, sure. He's got bad handwriting.
Well, yeah, because I can't
really?
Yeah, exactly.
Weird.
Gets it from father. But yeah, so I messed up first name and last name there for a while.
I appreciate that.
No, but tell us how did you do last weekend?
Well, okay, so I hang on to racing, and I'm only bringing this up because you guys all know flat track. Loyal could not get traction. Looks great, into the corners.
Where were you guys at New Richmond?
We were in New Richmond, indoor track.
Cedar Lake.
Cedar Lake,
yep. Wisconsin.
Indoor, he's the full picture.
Full log.
Picture perfect, right?
Yep.
Why are you not going fast when you look like the T-shirt?
Okay.
Right? And he just kept sliding out, couldn't get it. He cooked a tire. First day, did horrible. Second day, fast is where you got to keep the wheels
in line,
right?
Right.
So he was following, and it had a good heat race start, ended up following Jacob Walter. You guys know him, local pro, 76.
76.
176 or 76. He must have made a main.
Yep. Used to be 76L.
Yep, rode on his ass the rest of the day and figured out that slow was fast. So
Right, slow on the throttle.
yes,
Yeah.
very slow. And although he wasn't, you could see the competitors behind him could do the slide,
Elbow up. slide
elbow up,
it
but
in.
they can
Right.
slide it in, but that wasn't creating speed.
No, they're pole putting and not straightening out.
Well, no, they were not pole putting. Loyal and Walter were riding just in a
Almost road racing it, right?
I was going to
almost
say,
road
almost
racing
road
it.
racing.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
where it took Loyal a day to get that out of his system of I can slide,
So less brake.
I can back it in. Yeah, he said he was using no brake.
So just back pressure helps slow you down. But if you don't have any tire left, that means he was grabbing a handful and just spinning the rear wheel.
Yes, the whole way around the turn.
And that could have been a couple
Like a
of
sprint
things.
car.
Right. It could have been a couple of things, but if the air pressure was too high, then that would blister a rear tire too. There's a lot of factors in that, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's part of learning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was he a piss pot all day, or did he figure it out and was like
Well-
mean mugging everybody?
Well, you mentioned this, so I thought of this real quick. You said that when you were pro and then you started to slow down, and even Joe Kopp told me this, and let me bring this all together.
Mm-hmm.
Your body keeps the score. When you are under these, dare I say, traumatic, intense experiences of flat track, your body holds on to that.
Sure.
Right.
And so if you're like, oh, I'm just going to ride part time, the system doesn't work. Joe Kopp once told this story. Joe Kopp used to run this like coaching school. It wasn't necessarily about how to race. It was just how to get yourself ready to race.
Focus.
Perfect for something like Loyal that gets himself all worked up on race day. But Joe Kopp said that he was pro, national number, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Said he was going to a local racetrack a couple times a year with his wife. And he said he was throwing tools, and he was the Joe Kopp of the national, when he was a national number, and he realized I can't do this. It is all or nothing.
Right.
So to go back to my son, was he a piss pot? That's the only way we ever raced. Okay, there will be no other way.
That's it. There you go.
He had a bad heat race, and then he spunks until I buy him a cheeseburger.
Sure.
That's the tradition of my boy racing. All right. Well, here's something we're gonna wrap it up just a little bit. What's next for you? What's 2023 hold? What
So
do you got?
there's not a lot left in 2023, but I'll do the entire enduro cross season. So like I did the first one, so there's 5 more events. I'm going to an Oklahoma State football game next weekend with my daughter, so I have a weekend off. So I don't get very many of those. I'm at 40 some races already this year, so I'm ready for a couple weekends off here and there. Thanksgiving is off. I think I'm going to go down to.
What do you mean Thanksgiving is off?
I don't have nothing going
Got
on
it.
that
I guess-
weekend.
I thought it was
it's
canceled. You were
no,
telling
it's,
me this.
it's an off weekend
There's
for
no
me. So I'm
Thanksgiving
looking,
this year,
I'm
people.
looking forward to Thanksgiving and
awesome.
all the holidays. There's so much I miss as an announcer. I mean, it is
You're a rock star.
it is a glamorous life, but I'm gone so much. I miss birthdays. I miss a lot of important things. So when I can spend time with my family, I've already booked my trip to go see my mom for Christmas. I'm going to go see Ricky Rackman, who I worked for a few seasons. He's doing a stand-up show. I booked a ticket to go see him in Florida in a couple weeks. But pretty much the season's almost over. There's a few more flat track races I might hit here and there. Enduro cross, and then first weekend of January, indoor ice racing. The World Championship Ice Racing Series starts. They've only announced 2 or 3 dates so far. Hopefully there's more on the calendar. I do some monster truck shows here and there, and just I'll use Ralph Shaheen's line right here. He says, "If you're paying, I'm saying." So whatever I can get my hands on, I just look at the calendar and right now there's no AFT schedule out yet for next year, so I'm kind of waiting. There's a lot of people trying to book me for different things. The people from Belgium want me to go over there, or Holland want me to go over there and do a race or two. So There's a lot on the table. I don't have it all plugged into my schedule just yet, but
Sure.
I know there's one more question we didn't get to, but how did I start announcing? So that was. I know we have
obvious.
We have a little bit of time left, but and here I go driving your podcast for you. But anyways, so I went to a few local races. The announcer didn't show up, so I just started announcing. So somebody had to do it. So just got lucky. And then Mike Kidd was in charge of the Flat Track Forum, and it was actually a forum back then. And he put a post on there if anybody wants to be in the limelight, if anybody likes to travel, if you want to be an announcer, send in a resume. Demo tape and where you've announced. And so I made up a race in my head. My wife at the time, now ex-wife, filmed me in my race room with where all my trophies and stuff were at. And I made up a race and called a race. And and sent that in. And like 7 months later, I got a call from Clear Channel Motorsports, and I thought somebody was pulling my chain because it was like early in the morning. And they said, "You still want to be an announcer?" I'm like, "Yeah." They flew me to Chicago, to Aurora, Illinois, and went to Clear Channel Motorsports. It was an announcers summit. There was about 12 of us there because there's monster jams all over the place. A lot of people don't realize it, but they're in stadiums and they're in arenas every weekend of the wintertime. You know, January through March, the first quarter, it's jam-packed. So they need all these extra announcers. There was 4 of us there named Scott. That's my real name, Scott. So I was like, you know what? I gotta be different. So I went Scottie with an IE because my dad is Eddie. My dad is, my aunts are Penny and Connie. They both end in IE, so it's Scottie with an IE. So that pretty much just stuck. But that January, they throw me to the Wolves, and I'm doing monster trucks shows. I did one first weekend. I was in Reliant Stadium down in Houston where the Texans play.
That's a big one, isn't it?
Huge. So I was the backup to Scott Douglas, who was the main announcer. The next weekend, I was backup to Joe Lowe, and so I would do like the PA reads, and this race has been brought to you by blah 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 blah. And then if there's like Quad Wars or whatever, I would announce that. Well, then the third weekend, another Scott Rain, and I were in Arkansas at a show. And the first day he did opening ceremonies, I did everything else. The second day I did the whole show, and they cut me loose. And I did Monster Jam for probably a good 6 or 7 years, and I do other monster truck shows now. But that was my big break. And then Mike Kidd, to come full circle, J.B. Norris passed away in 2007 or 2008 at Lima, Ohio. The next race was the 4th of July in Topeka, Kansas. I used to race for Topeka Harley-Davidson, so Mike Patterson, who owned that, got a hold of Mike Kidd. They brought me in. I was the floor announcer. They called the podium guy, opening ceremonies guy. And then that was the 4th of July. The last race of the season was again at Topeka. I announced that race. And the next season, Mike Kidd took over at AMA Pro Racing, and he hired me.
Sweet.
I know it's a long story.
No, it's not a long story.
It's crazy, and it's just, I'm lucky.
Well, let me zoom in. I got 2 more things to wrap up here. So you must...
How many minutes we got?
You must have studied diction, because it isn't just the reading of the words. You have to have a friendly and familiar diction. And so you were 20 years old, or no, you quit racing. So how old were you?
Quit racing in 2000, basically. So I was 28. I was born in 72. So I was 28-ish, 29, 30.
And you hadn't gone, I'm not disrespecting this,
No.
but you hadn't gone to college, you hadn't studied English, but you knew enough to know how to have an entertaining tone.
Right. And I think a lot of that's just going to the races my whole life, and knowing what the announcers say at the racetrack. And I pick up things from different announcers, and I have a few catchphrases, and some of them I will give credit to who I got them from. But, and I never brag about myself, but I always got good grades in school. I never studied. I didn't like school, and I don't like to read, but I try to speak with proper English, proper grammar, and also try not to have an accent when I'm talking, which is weird because right now when I'm relaxed, you can tell I grew up in Oklahoma. I got a draw, but when my mom, this is the biggest thing, is when my mom went to my very first time to see me announce, she didn't think it was me until she physically saw me holding the microphone and talking. So evidently my voice changed. Like, I don't know if I get into character. I don't know if it's just the announcer person comes out, and I don't know where all the good dictation comes from.
They say that South Dakota is where you when they try to teach broadcasters, they try to teach you with a South Dakota accent.
Really?
Because
I have never heard that.
It's supposed to be
The clear
accentless. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say it's very different. The speech there is a little bit different, I think. Go ahead.
Oh, I do agree. I can hear an accent.
Yeah.
But here's my final question. So when you were just saying, when you were at a race, the announcer didn't show up, and you said this phrase, and announcing had to be done.
I believe so.
You took this for granted that you just said this, and we all agreed, yes, announcing had to be done. My question is, why did announcing have to be done?
I think more than anything is so people that are there to watch know what's going on. And to take that twofold, the people that are in the pit area, they also need to know what race is out there and how many more races before I have to go out there. And again, that's why I told you a few moments ago, I tried to tell everybody what race number we're on, what class it is, and maybe if I know how many people are transferring to the main event. So I keep people informed. I think that's what the announcer's job is to do at more of a local level. Maybe when you get to the big stage like X Games and stuff like that, it's not quite as important to know what's coming up next or what have you, because it's probably just one class or two classes or whatever, or it might not even be a class. So I'm there to inform people what's going on. As with Ralph Shaheen in the driver's seat, I'm there now at American Flat Track to tell people how he did that. he's going to say who, what, and when, and where, and I'd say how and why that person did that. So it's a little bit different depending on what seat I'm in at that particular day of the race. But it's crazy.
I just set you up to explain your philosophy of announcing. That's basically what you did.
That was it.
If you're an expert in your field, you have a philosophy and you know where you're going to go.
Yeah, I'm just a very lucky guy to get to talk about.
You are lucky, but this isn't luck. You have a skill set,
Yeah,
and
you have a skill. You have a voice. You have an inner voice.
Right.
You have an outer voice, and you have a brain for it. And it's
a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I mean,
The drive, man.
It is. I mean, I'm lucky to be in this spot, but you make your own luck to some extent. I don't practice as much as I probably should, but I study a lot. I'm full of energy when I go. There's never a bad day. I'm at a racetrack. I could be working behind a desk. Okay, so you have to put that back in perspective and know that you're the luckiest man on earth. You are the only announcer at the Amateur Grand Nationals, the biggest race for all these amateurs' career from all around the world, and they're all listening to me.
Sure.
How lucky am I? I mean, how cool is that?
That's pretty cool.
Good job.
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
Nice one.
All right, well, let's hear it for Scottie Deubler,
All right.
the official
All
voice of
right.
Flat Track.
Thank you.